Hi, my name's Jonathan Hicks. I'm back at the Dice Cup, and today I'm joined by
Hello, I'm Roxy.
Ethan.
Amy.
Steve. And we've just finished playing First Rat, which is all about getting rats into space. So you start off down here, and your rats kind of wind their way around this track. Acquiring resources, you can see you can get cheese from this space. Was this baking soda here? An aerosol can. So you're acquiring the resources as you go around until eventually you get to this top spot where you get to sort of assemble a rocket and launch your rat into space. So when it's your go, you look to see where your rats are, so I was yellow in this case, and you can move one of them up to 5 spaces if you want to, or you can move all the rats, but then they can only go up to 3 spaces, and they must land on the same colour. So, for example, if I wanted to get cheese, I could move this one, 1, 2, 3, that's a cheese, a yellow spot. This one could go 1, 2, that gets me cheese, and this could go 1, and that's great. So I'm going to get cheese from all these spaces. So that'd be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cheese. There's lots of resources you take it from the bank. Why do you need cheese? Well, you need cheese for a couple of things. First of all, if you land on someone else's space, then you have to pay them cheese for the privilege. That's always painful. Some of the spots are actually shops, so if you go to this spot, you can pay 6 cheese to get like a special ability. This means whenever you land on an orange space, you get 1 extra thing. So if you land here, you could get 2 baking soda instead of 1. So there's a few special abilities that people have been acquiring. You can see I've got some of these as we went through the game. This is another shop here. You can get one of these, which you can use on your turn to give you double the stuff. Whatever you're getting on that turn, you spend this and it doubles it. That's great. And this is the last shop here. You can acquire these things that will give you extra points. I'll explain how those work later on in the game. So after you've moved your things, you then have the option to contribute to various tracks. So if you have at least 10 cheese, you can spend 10 cheese and you can stick a cube on this track. So the first person who goes here is going to get 7 points, and you can see you're getting fewer points as more people have used that spot. You can try and assemble the rocket to blast the Ratronauts into space. So if you have 2 baking soda and 5 aerosol, you can stick a cube on this track, etc. for the different resources on these tracks. If you get a cube on each of these, like you can see green's got a cube on this one, and this one, then you get to put a cube on this track for contributing to the entire rocket. There's also a light bulb track, so some of these spaces you see have light bulbs, which is quite handy. You have a light bulb marker that starts at the beginning here, and each of these spaces has a light bulb marker next to it, so you're kind of moving your light bulb marker around. I think I got mine all the way up to here. And if you land on a space, like I landed on this space here for cheese, where your light bulb is further ahead, then you get to add an extra one. So I'd actually get 3 cheese from this spot, and 3 cheese from this spot because the light's further ahead. I would still only get 3 cheese from this spot. I wouldn't get 4 because the light bulb hasn't caught up to that spot yet. But also, for advancing your light bulb around, you can potentially put a cube on this spot, which is getting you more points. One last thing then, there is these apple cores. So when you land on an apple core space, you have a rat that starts and kind of moves around this thing here. So my rat is here, and if I got, let's say, 7 apple cores, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You sort of spin round, and if you want to, you can go through these halfway points. Now, if you advance through, if you pass this spot here, you get an extra rat. So you have rats that start here, and that means you've got more rats you can move around. If you go past this end space here, you get to put a cube on here, you're getting more points for those. And there are some special ability tiles here that have all gone now, but at the start of the game you can kind of race around this bit and try and acquire these spaces. For example, this means that green spaces and orange spaces would be the same when you're landing them. So remember, you've got to land on the same colour, so this means you could land on orange and green and they would count as the same colour. This means the tunnels are free. You can see there are some tunnels here. You could pay baking soda to go from this spot through the tunnel to this spot. But if you've got the special ability, it will be free. So there's a few special abilities that add things. Essentially, once all the Ratronauts have got into space, or if somebody gets all their cubes onto the board, that triggers the end of the game. And you count up most points wins. That just leaves these things then. This gives you bonus points for getting cubes on the appropriate track. So this will give me 4 extra points for every cube I have on the apple core track. This will give me 5 extra points for every section of the rocket that I built that matches it. So that would be on this one here. So yeah, what do we think?
Hi. So I really love the micromanagement in this game. There's lots of resources to look through, and say managing what you can do in your turn, moving 1 rat or moving multiple rats is challenging because you need to find what the best option is. For me, most of the game I spent trying to get my light bulb tracked up so that I could get additional resources, and it was a lot of fun. I really had to think about what was the best option for me.
Okay, Ethan?
Yeah, the flexibility of the game is something that I enjoy. There's lots of different options that you can take, and that allows for kind of beginners and more experienced board game players alike to enjoy the game, as it has a lot of potential depth that you can go into.
Amy?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one actually. I think there's enough going on with the different track systems that if you want to double down and go deep into one strategy, I don't think you can do badly in this game. So if you do completely ignore one mechanic, if you're like, I just don't understand it, or I really don't want to go down that route, I don't think it's going to be beneficial. I proved with my strategy that you just can, because I was like, no, I'm not doing this light bulb thing, this ain't happening, let's not bother with it and just see how I do. So I wanted to do a little experiment of my own, because everyone else went quite hard on those at the beginning. So I wanted to see if my score differed from the other players, and honestly the scores are all quite similar. They're all within 10 points of each other, which for some games where you have mechanics like this, there's one very clear one that allows you to do well, and if you abandon any of the others then you're just not going to do great. But actually some people didn't launch any rats into space, still did well. I didn't do any light bulbs, still did well. So you don't have to go down every single route, you don't feel pressured into doing that, and the game feels equal as you're going along.
Steve?
Yeah, you don't have to do everything. I didn't move my rat around the colony at all with any apple cores or anything like that. It feels like you can pick up the newspapers or the extra +1 things and be better at doing very specific things, or you can move the light bulb and be generically better at just picking up a bit more stuff. You can race to the end where the better spots are, and or you can steal and drop back to the start. So obviously there's those bottle cap tokens. If you steal and then you aim towards getting your cubes on those tracks, those cubes just become, each cube's an extra 4 to 6 points or something. So it's really nice. As those energy cans, I picked one up early and maybe I spent it too soon because I got a pile of stuff, and then Amy spent hers later on and I got even more stuff. So it's really nice, and I actually think it probably plays better with more people, because those restrictions on, if I go there I have to pay people cheese, you're going to have more of those restrictions with more players, and so kind of diversifying a strategy with more players becomes more beneficial, I think.
Rating?
The lighter than I normally like to play, but it's pretty good. 7 out of 10.
Amy?
Yeah, I was going to say 7 as well.
Yeah, I'd give it a 7.
Probably a 7.5.
Okay. Yeah, for a light to medium weight Euro, I think it's very solid. It's fairly straightforward to understand what you're doing, but there's quite a bit to think about, because you really don't want to be giving other people cheese. That's the really annoying thing about this game. Steve's very first move, he went exactly where I wanted to go, and it's like, oh no, I'd have to pay him cheese. Well, I'm not doing that. And then you have to kind of rethink your strategy a little bit. Early on, when everyone's going up the track at the start, it's very congested. You're going to have to pay cheese to other people, which makes the cheese quite important. But that also means you've got to pay attention to where you think other people are going to go and try and predict that, because then you can benefit from either they go on your spot and they give you cheese, or you can avoid giving them cheese. So, as I said, lots of nice strategies, lots to think about. I think it's very good for this weight of game. I think it's just about perfect. I would be on an 8 out of 10 for personal enjoyment. All right, thanks for watching. This was First Rat.